Hello, everyone. As a proud native of Washington, D.C., a serial entrepreneur and an angel investor with Century and Angels, it is both an honor and privilege to be here today. My name is C. Smith, and I'm the CEO of Femme Fatale DC, a grassroots retail venture that transcends the traditional boundaries of commerce. At Femme Fatale DC, we're not just a storefront, we're an immersive and community-built experience with incubative programs for entrepreneurs. Our journey began in 2016 with a humble pop-up concept driven by a desire to activate dormant spaces in our neighborhoods and empower women entrepreneurs. Through our innovative approach, we've leveraged community resources and collaborated with developers to breathe life into vacant commercial spaces across 7 different neighborhoods in the districts. These efforts have not only provided valuable insight into our core demographic, but also laid the groundwork for the development of hundreds of women-led businesses, and some of which you see here today, like So Me Designs, Sun Soap, Naruto Apothecary, Great Hill Studio, Thrift and Prosper, and Flip Flop Caravana. Thanks to initiatives like the Commercial Property Acquisition Fund, Femme Fatale DC has purchased our retail space, going from a pop-up to a flagship brick and mortar and establishing a permanent foundation in the Cleveland Park neighborhood. Symbolizing our commitment to supporting women-led Main Street retail businesses and revitalizing communities. As an entrepreneur, I'm excited for the Pop-Up Permit Program and the innovation and opportunity it will bring to our city. It is in the spirit of innovation, collaboration, and empowerment that I proudly introduce our mayor, Muriel Bowser.
Thank you so much. Let's give C. Smith another round of applause. And it's always great to hear a success story starting as a pop-up and then using the Commercial Acquisition Fund to purchase a brick and mortar storefront in Cleveland Park. I know Kenya McDuffie likes that. And it's great to be here with at-large council member Kenyon McDuffie, who also serves as the council's chair of economic development, along with members of my team, including Nina Albert and Brian Hanlon of the Department of Buildings. And it is always a good day when we're in the Golden Triangle bid. Where is Leona? Thank you, Leona, for having us. We're also joined by Japer Bowles, I see. Let's give Japer a big round of applause, who leads the mayor's office on LGBTQ affairs. So thank you for being here as well. Japer Jack Evans, the former Ward 2 council member, is here. Let's hear it for Jack too, along with a number of our World Pride 2025 stakeholders from the Capital Pride Alliance. So we thank you all for being here. Rosemary Suggs Evans is in the front row. Let's give Rosemary a big round of applause. So that's a lot of introductions, and we have a lot of good news. So let me see if I can skip to it. We're joined today by a lot of members of our creative economy and our creative community in Washington, D.C. If you're D.C. creative, let's hear it for you. Give them a big round of applause. And when we all should be happy that our creative community is going to play a big, big role in DC's comeback and have a lot of space in our focus on the downtown. We're focused on spaces that will help us bring vacant sites back to life. And that's exactly what we're doing here today. And that's exactly what's going to happen here in July when Capitol Fringe takes over this space and some other spaces for their annual arts festival. So it's good to hear about Capitol Fringe coming to downtown. So where's Julianne Brienza? Where is she? Right back here. Good to see you. And she is the founding director of the Capitol Fringe and a member of the DC Commission on Arts and the Humanities. So we are grateful for Julianne's investment in energy and time and creativity in having the Capitol Fringe in the downtown. We couldn't be happier that arts will play a huge part in our comeback. You know that with pop-up spaces like this one, we'll be filling spaces with artists, creating jobs, and we are changing spaces that used to be in a clothing store to an interactive experience. Now, a big part of that and part of lessons learned and how we can do a great job in converting vacant spaces into pop-ups is a program that we are introducing today. Thus, Brian Hanlon and his excellent team will be represented with some remarks from Brian. The Department of Buildings is launching pop-up permits. It's a pilot program. We could call it PUPs, maybe. That will allow customers to get a streamlined certificate of occupancy for temporary use of a previously vacant building without going through the traditional process. And we believe the initial time frame will be complete in 15 days or less, emphasis on less. So I want to thank Director Hanlon and his team for creating easier ways for businesses to navigate this process. Now, the interesting thing about the Department of Buildings, they have a massive job. Their job is to make sure that our buildings are safe when you live and work in these buildings, that you can expect to be able to come to work on an experience and go back home. And it is also important that the permit process be predictable. Sometimes they tell you you can't do the things you want to do, but most times they help you find a way to do that. And they also want to make sure that we are having a predictive way to assess what it costs to do the work that you want to do. This budget is very focused on how DC can burnish its reputation for being good for business. And we continue in this proposal, something that was very important to Deputy Mayor Albert, is that we had support for vacant spaces and converting those spaces, especially for the arts. So Councilmember McDuffie is also happy to see that in his budget that's going before his committee to deliver. So it's a $2.5 million grant that we suppose for pop-up conversions of commercial space. This budget also includes $26 million to implement the BEST Act, which will help us streamline business licensing and reduce costs for our entrepreneurs. $5 million to create a new downtown arts hub. $3 million to support the DemPed Festival Fund, which we know is so important to bringing people downtown. Who saw that Formula One event in Washington, D.C. over the weekend? Events like that bring thousands of people to the downtown, filling our restaurants, filling our hotels, and going out across all 8 wards. It will also help fund Art All Night, which is in all 8 wards around Washington, D.C. this September. And last weekend, there was another example in the celebration of Japanese culture with the Japanese festival. And so while we know that all special events are important, there is an especially big one coming to Washington, D.C. next year. And to that point, we propose a $5.25 million investment to support World Pride 2025. So we sent a big team last year to Australia, where the last World Pride was hosted. They did okay. They did all right. It was, I hear it was pretty good. But in Washington, D.C., it's going to be pretty great. And so we're already thinking about how we can include D.C. entrepreneurs, how we're going to include artists, how we're going to celebrate across all 8 wards of our city as well. So with that, we just wanted to highlight some economic development investments that we are making, and specifically to talk about how it will be easier to do business with us. So with that, I'm going to turn to Deputy Mayor Nina Albert, and then we will hear from Director Hanlon.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser, and good morning, everybody. I just want to thank C from Femme Fatale for being here today. I got a chance to visit her store. I got a chance to meet a lot of the women makers whose products are sold in her store when she announced that she was a recipient of the Commercial Property Acquisition Fund. So great to see you here, and thrilled that you have a permanent home. And that your roots got started in a program like a pop-up program, getting exposure to a broader audience, and people are drawn in, right, by a local business base. People want to support local businesses. They come out for it. I saw it when I went to ChocolateCon this past weekend on Barracks Row. Had local artists, had local businesses really putting on display. And it was great turnout and a great start to really celebrating local businesses in our city. So I'm going to pull together a little bit all these concepts, right? We have World Pride. What is World Pride? Not only is it a substantial festival and celebration at a global stage, which we are a global city, but we want to tie that to local opportunity. And so you have pop-up programs like this, the pop-up permits, which will allow local businesses to line the streets and fill vacant space so that while we have, New York had 3 million visitors for World Pride when it hosted World Pride. I'm challenging the team to get to that at least, right? So you have 3 million visitors during a week coming to DC. That is a time, yeah, hello. We got some work to do, that's for real. But that is a time where local businesses can have a front door and be on the front stage, and they need to do that in our retail spaces. It's not only for local businesses to showcase what we've got to bring to the table, it's also an opportunity to attract national businesses and global businesses that might want to pop up for a week and have access to a global audience, and also get introduced to what it's like to do business in our city. That's how all these things relate to each other. The global festival, the Formula One, the pop-up permit that can be delivered in 2 weeks, and the opportunity for local and national businesses to get to know the city. So with all of that, as the mayor mentioned, we have some really key investments and strategies to ensure that our downtown stays vibrant in the near term, but obviously for the long term. And we have major investments that we're proposing in this year's budget so that we can position downtown to be transformed and reimagined. And the health of downtown is the health of the whole city. We have to remember that. The health of downtown is the health of the whole city. So we've put a lot of work into that. The bids have put a lot of work into prioritizing investments in downtown and also visioning what could be in downtown. And that's captured in the Downtown Action Plan and in the Public Realm Plan. Just a few blocks from here, Golden Triangle is home to Farragut Square, really kind of the bookend of our commercial corridor. Also to McPherson Square and to what we're hoping is going to be the I Street Greenway, where cars and transit really move along K Street, and I Street becomes that place that pedestrians can walk only 1.25 miles from Gallery Place all the way down to Foggy Bottom. I don't know if people really figure that out. It's 1.25 miles to walk that, and there's 7 public parks lining that entire street. And so how do we really create a connection and a pedestrian realm along I Street? Those are some of the big ideas that we have. On the other side of downtown, we're also undertaking some really incredible envisioning work as part of our Gallery Place Task Force, and how we can transform that part of our city to be a world-class entertainment hub. And we know that pop-ups and activations are going to be a part of that too, as we see each year already with our holiday market. So how do we make that bigger and better? I want to thank everybody here for being with us, for thinking big, for supporting the comeback of DC. And with that, I'll turn it over to Director Hanlon.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Albert. You got to love that. My remarks say 15 days or less. The mayor says, "What's it with 15 days? How about 5?" I said, All right, small steps. Let's, and then Deputy Mayor comes up and says 2 weeks. So we're driving down the time right here today. And that thud in the back is my team, but we're going to make it happen. They're going to, don't faint, guys. So it is a beautiful day, and this is the kind of day that you want to have class outside, but we're inside today because this is kind of a really exciting moment where we're activating interior space. When you activate interior space, you activate everything. Sidewalks, parks, the whole city. It just is part of the equation. DOB, of course, is a regulatory agency, but if we are not seeing ourselves as a key component to the engine of economic development, then frankly, we're not really doing our job. So that's how I view it. I'm about to hit my 1 year mark. I'm incredibly grateful to the mayor for bringing me on to serve in her administration, and grateful to my team for what has been a great first year, and looking forward to beyond. So again, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Bowser, of course, Deputy Mayor Albert, Deputy Mayor Anderson, Julianne Brienza, the Golden Triangle bid, the downtown bid, and my team at the Department of Buildings, especially, I would say, Nicole Rogers, who I think is the best chief building official in the country. There you go. Got Kathleen Beaton, best zoning administrator around. We got Jeff Reese. He hates when I call his name out, but he's back there too. So we got a great team. And everyone who's played a part in making this great event happen today. As Mayor Bowser mentioned, today we are announcing an exciting new process, the Popup Permits Program, or as she called it, and we call it, PUPs. At DOB, we are laser focused on being a catalyst for economic development. The activation of vacant space with exciting and creative pop-up opportunities brings life and additional vibrancy to the district, and we at DOB will continue to innovate and seek ways to streamline processes to make stuff like this happen. While PUPS was created with revitalizing downtown in mind, keep in mind this is a pilot, and we will refine this process and make it widely available beyond downtown. In fact, I spoke with Christina Noel earlier, who's got an event in the Anacostia bid, and we're going to do it. So we're just going to spread it out everywhere. So this is for our city. The goal of PUPS is simple: to accelerate the permitting timeline for activation of vacant spaces while still ensuring, of course, safety. Activating vacant spaces through temporary uses will contribute to a thriving downtown and to the success of the Downtown Action Plan. We understand that time is valuable for our businesses, creators, and retailers looking to open in the district, and that they need to maximize the time that they are open to customers. And that, of course, means minimizing the friction that it takes to get there. With our new streamlined process, applicants can expect an accelerated timeline of 15 business days or less. Going to do lower than that. We're going to shoot for that. From application to issuance of temporary certificates of occupancy for up to 1 year. That's great, right? Provided the space passes inspection, and we will work with you. Our team will work with you. The Capitol Fringe Festival is a perfect example of our goal. The reimagining of empty space to deliver community benefit once again. In developing this program, DOB has collaborated with a diverse group of stakeholders, including district government partners, residents, and the business improvement districts, especially the downtown bid and the Golden Triangle. And thank you again, Leona. To qualify for this program, applicants should first complete DOB's pre-qualification form to ensure that their idea is appropriate for a pop-up permit. This form is available on our website at dob.dc.gov/pop-up permits, and there's a dash between pop-up permits. PUPs require the change of use or tenancy occur with minimal construction. Following approval of the pre-qualification form, applicants will then receive assistance from our process navigators, and we're just calling them navigators now, and this will be more formally announced, but we've got a group of people that are there. Their sole job is to help people figure out how to work through all the processes. and they will help folks apply for their pop-up permit via our C of O, our Certificate of Occupancy application platform called Certify. Customers will be guided through a hybrid process that marries DOB's traditional building permit and the C of O processes to generate a temporary Certificate of Occupancy, or C of O, that ensures safe compliance for temporary uses of vacant buildings. Applicants can expect accelerated permitting times, with DOB's initial review taking 15 business days or less. And we're going to, again, work to make sure that it's happening as quickly as possible. We get out a few kinks, and this is going to be a pretty easy process. This initiative will have a great impact on reinvigorating downtown and, frankly, other districts in the other areas in the city. We are eager to see how it develops so we can make any necessary updates to our processes to serve customers even better, and then extend PUP's process citywide, which we're already doing apparently. Once again, you can learn more about the PUP's program at dob.dc.gov/pop-up permits. Again, a dash between pop-up and permits. Or contact us via email at dob@dc.gov. Or telephone, everybody got their pens out, right? At 202-671-3500 to speak with somebody from our team. Thanks so much. Thank you again, Mayor. And I'd like to hand it over to Julianne Brienza. Thank you.
Good morning. It's still morning. It's 11:30. How many of you have actually come to the Capitol Fringe Festival? Raise your hand. All right, we got a few. How many of you have supported a small theater company in the last year? All right, that's good to know. We've got a couple located right here in the Golden Triangle. One of them is Rorschach Theater, who's also in the room today. All right, just so you can know a little bit about Capitol Fringe, in case you don't, Capitol Fringe was founded right here in downtown DC in 2005. Since then, we have built theaters and vacant properties across the district, welcoming in 400,000 audience members and building small theater stages for 52,700 participating artists to create and present their theater, dance, puppetry, and mostly unclassifiable productions. We have partnered with every bid in the city except for two, and we have relied on nearly every leading developer in this city to open up their vacant properties without a financial reward for over 2 decades to create not just a theater festival, but an earning opportunity for artists. Since our founding, we have generated $2.7 million in artist ticket revenue. That's pretty good. Let's clap for that, right? Because do you know who did that? Our audiences did that. And do you know who our audiences are? 40% of our audiences live in the District of Columbia. All right, so the Capitol Fringe Festival is coming up in July. It's going to be July 11th through the 21st. Next week, we are releasing everything that has to do with the Capitol Fringe Festival. So you got to wait till then. And I'm not going to tease it out because I believe in things like Taylor Swift holding it back. I'm doing that, okay? So you got to wait till next week. And you can follow us on any social media platform of your choice. It's Capitol Fringe, and that's Capitol with an A for the area and not the building. And we cannot wait to welcome our artists and our audiences right here. This is going to be a stage. We're standing on it. And we have 4 other properties on this block. And all of that is being provided by Blake Real Estate. Let's give them a hand for being courageous in opening up to, their property to, we don't really know what it is yet. We get little descriptions of the shows, and also to our partnership with the Golden Triangle Bid and their full staff that is helping us bring us through this new permitted, accessible process that will not just help theater, which we honestly need a lot of help right now, but it would also help the creative economy and also bring vibrancy to our city. Thank you.
I love it. You said so they're opening their doors to Not Sure Yet? We don't know yet. I like that. But we're going to know soon. So thank you. Thank you, Julianne. And it brings me also pleasure to announce the Golden Triangle leader who's going to come to speak to you, Leona Aguritis, followed by Councilmember Kenyon McDuffie. Thank you, Leona.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser. Good morning, everyone. I am Leona Aguritis, the president and CEO of the Golden Triangle Bid, and we are thrilled to work with Julianne, Blake Real Estate, and the Department of Buildings to host Fringe here in the Golden Triangle this summer. And we're excited that the mayor's FY25 budget commits to art, culture, activations, and pop-ups, which are such a big part of the Golden Triangle experience. And in case you didn't notice, you may have missed Rania Hassan's marker sculpture. This is the big pink sculpture on Connecticut Avenue on your way in. It's nestled among flowers in the median, going up all the way to almost DuPont Circle, and across from haiku signs that host poems from all over the world. In fact, Deputy Mayor mentioned that Washington, D.C. is not only local and national, but also global. And the Golden Haiku Competition, you might be proud to know, is the largest haiku competition in the world. So, yep. Arts and activations are important parts of the mayor's comeback plan, as you know. Also the Downtown Action Plan and the OP Public Realm Plan, as the deputy mayor mentioned a few minutes ago. And I wanted to give you some examples. Nina gave you examples of the Greenway and I Street. And near that are placemaking and activations on strategic streets, and underline on the word strategic, in the 800 block of Connecticut Avenue, for example. We feel that's an important way to bring tourists up from Lafayette Park into the downtown. And I've often stood there at the edge of Lafayette Park and looked up and watched tourists looking up. And I know the potential of that firsthand over the years. Culture and arts hubs and anchors south of DuPont. What an amazing area, adjacent to the brand new investments being made in the National Geographic campus. And if you don't know about that, you should probably go online and see a little bit. But it's going to be truly exceptional and a great draw in our city. And then finally, as you heard here, pop-ups in areas of high vacancies on the retail level, like this block of Connecticut Avenue. And, you know, while you don't want vacancies, if you are trying to create a place with a theme and bring people together for a purpose, they also present an opportunity. And we're very excited about this summer. During the pandemic, we launched the Grow Golden pop-up program. Some of you may remember it. It was directed to small and local businesses and matching them to vacant retail spaces. We brought 12 pop-ups to the neighborhood during that time, and they ranged from stores like 9010 by DC Sweet Potato Cake to Rorschach Theater. Hello, Rorschach, right? And Artomatic as well, just most recently. And you know what we learned about pop-ups? And C from Femme Patel mentioned that a few minutes ago. Some of them stay, and they become important parts of their community, of this community. So it's not just pop-up and goodbye, but it does really yield longer-term benefits for both the pop-up and the neighborhood. In fact, 6 of our 12 pop-ups stayed longer than their original term, and those 6 are still here today, and that is something worth noting. So we look forward to working with Mayor Bowser and her team, the arts community, and all of you to create a resilient and adaptable mixed-use downtown that is welcoming and alluring to everyone. And before I leave, I have one last thing that I would like to do. I would like to call out our 2 safety ambassadors, Raven and Stefan. And thanks thank you to the Safe Corridors program. Because of that, they are now on the streets of the Golden Triangle, supporting safety and helping to support the vision of programs like this. And now it's my honor to introduce Councilmember Kenyon McDuffie.
Thank you, Leona. I appreciate it. I'm sure I got some remarks in here somewhere. I want to say thank you to Mayor Bowser and the team, Deputy Mayor Albert, as well as Director Hanlon, for all the work that they put in for this important program that is really going to help to bolster our downtown and provide the type of support that our local businesses need as we continue to rethink our downtown to make sure that we're providing the resources that are absolutely necessary to support those efforts by people like Leona, people like C, Julianne, and all the creative things that they're doing to transform these old spaces into new places. And so thank you to Mayor Bowser. Let's give her a round of applause. The two things that I want to mention today that I think are really important. I think energy and experience, when you think about the things that we're doing in D.C. right now, and we're trying to think about how we support the comeback. There's a lot of energy in this room. I really like the remarks that we heard thus far. I look forward to Capitol Fringe coming to this area to go to Triangle Bid. Anybody else looking forward to seeing Capitol Fringe? Yeah. All right. Awesome, awesome, awesome. But it's also not just the energy of the folks who are doing the work, who are in our creative economy, who are our local minority, women-owned entrepreneurs. It is the energy of government to meet the moment and make sure that we are working hard to reduce the regulations, red tape, and make things more efficient for those businesses that are trying to get to work and attract more people to the District of Columbia and employ more of our residents. And you see that in the Popup permits effort. Never let a good acronym go to waste. PUPs. And so it's my job as the council to make sure we're doing oversight of these agencies and make sure things are functioning well. But when we have opportunities to work together and collaborate, when they're taking these important steps to reduce the burden on businesses, to make things more efficient, to welcome people and new businesses into the District of Columbia along our local corridors, that I want to applaud those efforts. And this is one of those efforts that I wanted to be here to help applaud. And so I really appreciate the work that's going into this. And then experience. The experience you're going to get is the opportunity for the folks who are standing up here, like Julianne and like C, to be able to do what they do best. To not be bogged down in spending time trying to get permits, trying to get licenses, but to be able to do it in 15 days or less, right? It's a ceiling, not the floor. But to be able to bring those creative experiences to support our creative economy is so very important in this moment. So you're going to get the energy from all the efforts of the government to make sure that we're reducing red tape, streamlining things, getting you what you need to do business in the District of Columbia and to make our local economy tick. And we're going to get those experiences, and our tourists are going to get those experiences, and the residents who live here are going to get those experiences as a result of that. And so it's an exciting day to be a part of this. Look forward to seeing PUPs roll out, and I look forward to checking in with Brian to see how he's doing to meet that deadline. So thank you all. Appreciate it, Mayor.
Okay, so this is some exciting news that we are hearing, and I'm so grateful for all of you being here today. And we'll take a few press questions. Yes.
Okay, thanks for doing this. I know that this is intended as more of a shorter term program, but I'm curious what you think the longer term return on investment will be for the city at large.
Are you talking about the permitting process? Oh, for sure. Well, first of all, I think you heard about what our acute needs are as we have more retail vacancy right now. We want to turn that into productive use. We want people coming and going. We want the thousands of people to come to Capitol Fringe, or the customers of other artists or other retail concepts that are testing to be coming in and out. I think it always gives the department, as Brian has already mentioned, the ability ability to scale up their services or specialize their services for what the acute needs are. Any other questions? Yes.
I'm wondering how much of this is a result of the problems that Automatic had with their C of O, and and how you're going to avoid that happening for Fringe and Art All Night and other events as they come up.
Well, let me ask Brian to speak to that specifically.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for that question. Actually, I think the Artomatic process in some ways was government at its best. We found out about that event actually coming in at the agency about a week in advance of the actual opening and worked with them very closely. And I believe if you ask the executive director of Artomatic, they'd say the same thing. We went over and really engaged and collaborated with them to make that event happen. But I will say that the event itself actually offered an opportunity for us to reflect, which is what we're always doing. And within literally a day of our initial engagement with Artomatic, the team started talking. It's like, let's make this process clearer. Let's make it easier. Let's make it faster. And so that event for us really became the inspiration in some ways for PUPs. And by the way, the DNA of PUPs is going to, I think, help improve other processes that we have at DOB, which is something we're doing every day as an agency to look for how to improve and how to make us a more effective catalyst for economic development.
Yes, Sam.
A couple of questions. So in regards to the expedited permitting process, how do you ensure safety, especially given the budget season and but as far as how do you ensure that within 15 days or less, how do you mitigate the possibility of some oversight or,
Well, we trust that Director Hanlon and his team put safety is always first above speed or expediency or cost.
But even with, personnel and there might be some demand, so what things are put in place, 15 days or less is not that much time.
Well, actually, I think it is quite a lot of time. And you've already heard the director talk about the pre-qualification form. So we're going to ask our applicants to come to the table prepared. 15 days doesn't mean you walk in the door and say, hey, Brian, I need my permit. That's not when the 15 days starts. The 15 days starts when you come to the table, having provided the information that the agency needs. And let me just be clear, if at the end of the 15 days it's not where it needs to be, then a permit won't be issued. That's Director Hanlon's job, that's the chief building official's job. But we walk into this process with the expectation that everybody wants to get open.
Hi. I had a follow-up question for Director Hanlon specifically about your inspectors. How many inspectors do you have on DOB staff, and do you anticipate hiring more third-party inspectors to fill this need and the deadline?
To fill the deadline for what? For pop-up permits?
Yes. On top of your regular permitting process that you're doing around the city.
This is being folded into our normal processes. I mean, we are talking about space that has been activated before. In some instances there might be some life safety issues that we've got to address. You could have an unclear egress path. You could have exit signs that need to be. But this is not overly complicated stuff, and our bevy of our roster of inspectors can handle this. I'm confident that this is we're not adding additional work. We're just refining our processes to make the system work better.
So you're confident you have enough inspectors for the need?
I am confident that we have what we need to make this happen. Yep.
And forgive me if I missed this. How many vacant properties are we talking about that's eligible for this program?
I don't have a count of that. I mean, there's I wouldn't be able to say that off the cuff. I mean, maybe the Golden Triangle bid can give you a number, but no, I don't have a number off the top of my head. Thank you.
Mayor, I know that you and some of the downtown task force recently traveled to the Masters. Can you speak on your success, if you saw any there? Were you networking when you got there? Was this part of the plan to get people to come downtown to DC as well?
Yes. Any other questions? Yes.
Regarding the Worldwide, which many people obviously are looking forward to next year, the one thing that so many people coming from out of town has been said today, the one thing we learned from the New York event that you mentioned is that some people, it may have been many, who really would like to have come, said they could not afford it because of the expense of hotels or residential places to stay. I was wondering if any of your business people here might comment on that. Might there be some affordable facilities?
Well, DC is a great value, let's just put it that way, and we have a spectrum of accommodations available here, and especially over the last several years, we've been able to add from micro hotel units to, the most extravagant of hotel units. And we know when they're large events, and one thing we understand that they are, maybe we can look into this, Brian, down in Augusta, that is not used to swelling up to the thousands of people who go down there. There is some consideration around short-term rentals and how to make sure short-term rentals are properly registered. We have a regime in the district that would help add to the number of hotel units available. So I'm going to ask Japer and team and our special events team that's working on this to make sure that's part of the consideration, but that's a good thing to bring up. Yep, Mark.
Mayor, and I'd like to hear from the council member on this as well, a budget question. I'm sure you saw Chairman Mendelson's newsletter regarding his plans for the budget, and specifically his assertion that the CFO exceeded his authority and that he would send a budget back to you and to Congress that would not have the $217 million in the surplus fund restored, and therefore would not be certified by the CFO. So I guess my question to you, Mayor, and to Councilmember McDuffie is, will you support sending a budget to Capitol Hill, to Congress, that is not certified by the CFO?
Well, I do believe, as I have said, that there's no law in the district that requires us, other than the one we created, to have a fiscal stabilization fund. The council created the fiscal stabilization fund, and the council can adjust the fiscal stabilization fund. I can say that with some authority because I was on the council. I voted to have it, but I also recognize the ability for the council to adjust that. And I think that's what's appropriate. And I think it's appropriate for this reason. We are one of the few jurisdictions in America that has a 5-year budgeting process. So our CFO has the daunting job of estimating what our revenues are going to be 5 years from now and balancing the budget 5 years from now. That's what the 5-year budget means. We don't know what our revenues are going to be 5 years from now. So having us gut programs that we think are effective to balance a budget 5 years from now, I don't think is appropriate. And more than that, I think it's up to the elected policymakers of the district to decide if that fiscal stabilization fund is needed to be replenished in this 5 years. So that's what I believe.
So can I just clarify?
Sure.
And I appreciate your thorough answer, but so will you support sending the budget to the Congress if it is not certified by the CFO?
I think there's a lot of things that have to happen for me to support the budget. And this is what I want to make really clear. We have put together, the most difficult budget that I've had in the time that I've been mayor. This is my 10th balanced budget that I've sent to the council. I've had to go to the people of the District of Columbia, the business community of the District of Columbia, and say, we have to adjust revenues. We need to ask for more of you. But in doing that, we've had to make some difficult decisions. So what I won't support is amping up spending on programs that don't increase the growth in the district. I sent the council a budget that does not include income tax increases or residential property tax increases. I will not support a budget that amps up those taxes for increased spending on programs that don't increase our growth of revenues. So I think there's a lot of things that have to happen with this budget, or not happen with this budget, and more particularly to gain my support. Now, on the question of certification, I think it's unfortunate that that question even has to be asked. I think that the chief financial officer is wrong in the law, and he's wrong just on the commonsensical decisions that have to be made now versus 5 years from now.
I appreciate it. Could I just try one more time? Could I just ask a yes or no question? If it meets all...
I can't answer that question because there's a lot of, we're going to be right in the law, and I'm going to have some consideration with my team before I make that decision.
I appreciate that. Councilmember McDuffie, I guess you've heard my questions.
I heard every one of your questions, Mark. I'll say this. Occasionally in government, people disagree, and I think that can be healthy. In this instance, there happens to be a disagreement between the chairman and the CFO, and I tend to agree with the chairman on this point. Here's what I believe, strongly, frankly, is that the council is going to pass a balanced budget within the mandated 70 days in which we have it, and we're going to present that balanced budget that we pass to the mayor for her consideration. I'm not going to speculate about where my colleague's going to be. I speak for myself here. I'm not representing the chairman, but I have spoken to him pretty extensively, as I've also spoken to the CFO about this issue. And ultimately, I think the residents of the District of Columbia are best served if we're able to free up that money that is being required by the CFO to be in the reserves, and we're able to utilize that to take care of the needs of the residents and businesses across the District of Columbia. And so I'm happy to have another conversation in about a week or so. I feel good about, and I'm encouraged by some of the conversations that have taken place more recently between the folks who are going to have to make a decision about this.
Okay, anyone who hasn't asked a question? Okay, last two then, Delia and then Sam.
Two quick questions, if you don't mind. The
sure.
Washington Times reporting that the city is in discussions to create a stadium authority. Could you confirm that? What would be the goal of the stadium authority? And does that mean that discussions with the commanders have progressed where we feel like we can do that? And then the second, perhaps Deputy Mayor Albert could address.
Yeah, I have no idea what they were writing about.
Oh, they said the city was in discussions to create a stadium authority that would work along with Events DC.
I've read it. I just don't have any idea what they're talking about.
So you have no knowledge of a funding source or any kind of authority, stadium authority?
No.
Okay, second question for the Deputy Mayor, if you don't mind. You mentioned Formula One over the weekend. Massive crowds, folks on top of light poles and porta potties, I heard. Just to kind of catch the action. Do you anticipate more events like this coming to DC? Are we ready for a race? And did you expect the crowds that we received?
Well, I don't know if I expected the crowds that we received or not. What I was really impressed by was just a whole new set of people. I mean, just kids. I mean, just the whole variety of people that came out for Formula One. That was unexpected to me. It was pretty cool. In terms of are we planning and are we looking for more of this, actually the National Capital Planning Commission is working very closely with the district right now on how to convert Pennsylvania Avenue to be more of a festival street, because there's so much demand for festivals on the National Mall, but the National Mall can't really withstand that kind of wear and tear. And so Pennsylvania Avenue becomes the more logical place to host big events like that. a bunch of things, technical and non-technical, would need to happen. But that is, they've launched that planning process, and they're now going into sort of more of a technical and design work that would get us closer to making that a reality.
Budget question, and
Sure.
this is in regards to the Budget Support Act. So I see here that the Budget Support Act includes a repeal of the Schools First and Budgeting Act, and given you already have mayoral control of schools, this is the last modicum of checks and balances that the council has to hold DCPS accountable to parents and the students. You know, given all of that, why would you take that out? And if it means, you know, not the chancellor not being held accountable for the budget?
I don't follow that question. I'm sorry.
Well, what I'm saying quite simply is, why would you take out the Schools First and Budgeting Act? Why would you take it out if it requires the chancellor to stand before the city council?
That's not what it requires.
It does.
No, it doesn't.
42 days before you present your budget. It
We
requires them to
already
sit
do
before that.
We already do that.
But the chancellor doesn't, though.
Yes,
and,
he
and,
does.
and respectfully, I don't want to go back and forth with you, but it says it right there. And it also requires that you present a budget or some budget line items to OSSI and the DC Council, and to some degree, it gives the principals autonomy to determine their funds and where it goes in the local school. So there are elements that you repealed within the Budget Support Act, and I'm trying to figure out, why are you doing that if you already have mayoral control?
Because there's respectfully, and you know, usually when people say that, they start to disrespect you. But let me move on. And respectfully, what the charter provides the mayor the sole responsibility of proposing a budget. Schools First in budgeting flies in the face of my charter responsibility, and I will never concede my charter responsibilities.
But you already have mayoral control of schools.
You misunderstand either the charter or the budget process or what mayoral accountability means. I'm happy to explain it to you, but I don't think everybody needs to sit here for a half an hour to hear it.
I read it with my 4 eyes this morning, so no.
And you still don't understand. So I'm happy to explain it to you, but whose responsibility is it to propose a budget in the District of Columbia?
Let's get Susanna to set up a one-on-one.
It's the mayor's responsibility. Whose responsibility is it to pass a budget in the District of Columbia, giving that body the ability to do what it wants with the DCPS budget? It's the council's responsibility. And so that has nothing to do with mayoral accountability or mayoral control. It has everything to do with what powers the charter gives, the Home Rule Charter gives the mayor, and what powers the Home Rule Charter gives the council.
Again, the law was passed 2 years ago, and Chancellor Farabee was negligent in presenting a budget 42 days before you were scheduled to present yours. So the question is, why would you take out the last modicum of checks and balances, given the fact that you already have
The council has the budget right now, Sam. And so it can do what it wants with the DCPS budget, which it did last year. And since you bring it up, let me say a little bit about that. Because I think it is highly irresponsible to gut DCPS's central budget. And I think it is also folly to think that the progress that we have achieved in our schools is not directly related to the innovations that we have been able to drive at DC Public Schools. We have tremendous school communities, outstanding principals, and they all have the benefit of the innovations that we have created at DC Public Schools.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.